Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by PewSitter.com, your online Catholic newspaper for the third millennium, CatholicMediaCoalition.org, in line with the Church, online with the world.
And TheAmericanCatholic.com, politics and culture from a Catholic perspective.
Hello and welcome to today's edition of Catholic News Roundup. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. Beckham's baby bashed. David Beckham's family is being heavily criticized in the United Kingdom by the press and government officials for the so-called scandalous act of having a fourth child. The UK Guardian newspaper has published an article calling the Beckhams a, quote, bad example to families for being so-called environmentally irresponsible, using the number of people on the planet as their excuse to bash the miracle of life. The family was publicly ridiculed by the nation's Green Member of Parliament, Carolyn Lucas, and the CEO of Optimum Population Trust, Simon Ross, who says, quote, family planning is cheap and accidental pregnancy rates are very high. We need to change the incentives to make the environmental case that 1 or 2 children are fine, but 3 or 4 are just being selfish, end quote. Ross is calling for Parliament to revoke tax benefits from families with more than 2 children. Bigamy kahuna trial. Jury selection has begun for the high-profile trial of a man who ran a bigamy compound in El Dorado, Texas, raided in 2008. Warren Jeffs and 11 accomplices were arrested after police raided Yearning for Zion church compound and released 400 children for being kept there, including underage girls who were being forced into polygamous marriages. Jeffs believes polygamy should be protected under U.S. freedoms, but is being tried for sexually assaulting 2 girls he duped into a, quote, spiritual marriage, and will be tried on bigamy charges in October. 7 of Jeff's accomplices have already been tried, receiving sentences from 6 to 75 years in prison, while he faces a potential life sentence for the sexual assault charges he faces. Please read the full article on our resource page by clicking the link right over here. Down syndrome means disposable. A new study done by the Society of Human Reproduction and Embryology has identified Down syndrome as a common result in implantation attempts and provided embryologists with a way of only implanting, quote, untainted embryos in women. The society resulted in the creation of a test that counts the number of chromosomes in an embryo's DNA strand to identify the Down syndrome characteristic after what are being called imperfect embryos are labeled inadequate and thrown away. After their eggs are taken and turned into sorted embryos, women who want a child implanted are told how many of their eggs were, quote, abnormal, while their other offspring are carted off to the trash can. We highly encourage you to read the full article on our resource page by clicking the link right over here. Stay with us. We'll be back in just a few seconds.
Catholic News Roundup is brought to you in part by NewOxfordReview.org, the voice of Catholic Orthodoxy, in print and on the web, and RenewAmerica.com, expanding the influence of America's grassroots in the cause of freedom.
Abortionist pays his dues. The survivor of a botched abortion, originally sentenced to be delivered stillborn in a toilet, has successfully won damages from her would-be executioner in court. The child, born as a result of the abortion gone wrong, weighed in at 1.5 pounds at birth and suffered massive injuries after she was born at 22 weeks. Her father filed the lawsuit, and the infamous abortionist James Pendergraft was ordered to pay over $36 million in damages. Pendergraft owns 5 abortion clinics in Florida and 1 late-term clinic in Washington, D.C. He has also had his medical license suspended 4 times for botched abortions, illegal late-term abortions, and dispensing drugs without a license. Adoption blame game. A major dispute has erupted in Australia between an archbishop and a Catholic health association. The dispute emerged after a Senate inquiry looking into the number of forced adoptions in Australia between the 1950s and the 70s became public. As soon as 150,000 forced adoptions were uncovered within that time frame, Catholic Health Australia immediately issued an apology for practices that they called shameful and regrettable. However, their statement was immediately challenged by Perth Archbishop Barry Hickey. Hickey says Catholic hospitals are not to blame, that contrary to popular belief, nuns and priests did not force young single mothers to give up their babies, and was affirmed in his statements by nuns alive today who worked in hospitals during that time period. You can read about what these nuns had to say in the full article found on our resource page by clicking the link right over here. I'm Matthew McAuliffe. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and tune in tomorrow for your daily dose of Catholic News Roundup right here on RealCatholicTV.com. And be sure to check out the Vortex today, where Michael talks about some dumbfounding developments regarding no bull in Madrid. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure and tell all your friends about us. And as always, God bless.